Welcome, everyone, to the World Session for June 25th, 2024. So, for those of you who just celebrated Saint Jean Baptiste, happy celebrations. Next week is Canada Day. We've got quite a few celebrations for this week. And we had solstice last week, as well as a full moon. We're in the waning moon. So, with the waning moon, I would like to bring in the waning energy of negative neuroplasticity. So, neuroplasticity is the capacity of our brain to be plastic, to learn new things. No, we do not develop new neurons, but we can create more connections in the brain. But negative neuroplasticity is when we make connections that lead to things like a pain is gone. Somebody has an amputation of their arm was in pain, and the arm is now gone. But the brain still records that there's pain. So this can be for pain. It can be for, we're going to work through some habits. And really the limbic brain to the frontal cortex, that plasticity needs to be a little bit more, let's say, more, I don't even know what I want to say here. I don't even know yet. Let's see. We're going to, it's going from limbic brain. I think one of the good things to probably do is I'm going to focus on everyone being in stillness. So it just feels like nothing is still. I feel like lots of noise. I'm even going to close my eyes so that the brain, so tune into to the stillness within you, because connecting the three brains, when you have lots of noise, when you're distracted, well, it's going to distract where your brain wants to go. So just focus on the rise and fall of your breath. Don't do anything to it, just rise and fall. So everything we do needs to come from that place. So we have a stillness, and then when there's movement, it just kind of happens. Or it's happening without your volition, let's say. It's happening without your volition would probably, I'm not crazy about the way I'm saying it, but you might get the idea. It's happening without your need. In our work, motivation is not a good thing. Enthusiasm, like motivation, is pathology, whereas enthusiasm is in the heart. It is entheos, being in God. The only time I can be in that space is when I'm truly still. When you go into meditation, let's say you sit for, I don't know if any of you have done that, but I'm sure a lot of you have. You sit for 8 hours in meditation. It's hard to find the time. It's hard to find, that capacity within the city. If you're in the country, you probably can do it a lot. If you have family, if you have kids, if you have jobs, it's not easy to do. So when I was young, I could do that kind of thing. I didn't have obligations other than work. So I went to work and then spent my evenings right through the night meditating. Yeah, it felt like being in bliss. So now I had to find ways to adapt. You need ways to adapt so that you keep finding that place of stillness and entheos, enthusiasm, entheos. So if we can do that, we can actually experience more and more compassion. I'm talking about unadulterated compassion. So adulterated compassion is the moment someone says, I have compassion for, okay, for something in particular, it turns into caring. Now, the words are not adequate, but it does turn into caring. And now you might go, what's this got to do with our negative neuroplasticity? Well, I'd say everything. Everything. We've got neurological tissue in the heart. If you didn't know this, I thought this was a cool thing to find out, that if my brain is not operating properly, let's say you have an accident and you hurt your brain, you get into a bad car accident, let's say you have a brain trauma, you can actually cause leaky gut. Imagine you have a brain trauma, your head gets hit, it's traumatized, you can eventually develop leaky gut. So talk about connections, right? Sometimes I think people don't remember that there's a holistic aspect to us. I talk here, I do a lot of things. And some people go, I love it. And some people go, I don't really understand what you're doing. Yeah, okay. You might not understand how I'm doing this if you're not a practitioner. That's fine. But it's on observing and asking lots of questions of what's called innate wisdom. And every time you ask a question, you get a yes, no response. That's it. Yes, no, yes, no. It's binary. 0 1s. Lots of questions, binary, 0 1, 0 1, 0 1. And you narrow it down to, oh, today I was thinking about the world session and negative neuroplasticity came up. All right. Maybe for pain. I mean, there can be so many things, but there's also this emotional content. There's also the 3-brain connection. There's also the entire planet, our collective, right? So all of those things are consistently influencing us. But isn't it up to me to decide what I want to do for myself in my own life, as it is up to you, what you would like to do in your life? Yes, we don't have control. No, we have this tiny little bits of control, but we ultimately don't have any. You could say healthy control is I can decide whether I take a drink of water or I exercise, but ultimately we don't have control. Okay, but we can take some healthy control here and there, but we don't have control of everything. Sometimes if I have leaky gut, you might go to a doctor and the doctor says, okay, it's what you're eating, it's what you've eaten, it's this, that, and the other thing. And yet they never look, let's say, they never look at the brain. They never look, it's not one of the first questions somebody's going to ask you if you've got IBS or you've got, problems in the belly, is whether you had a head trauma. They're not going to ask you that, but it's all connected. I'm just bringing in these connections so there's an understanding of everything being connected. I have a little trouble when I experience our work, and a lot of people do this work, and we don't realize that the whole thing is, everything is connected to everything else. We don't exclude anything. Now, doing a world session obviously is a little bit, I think, more difficult. It's got so much energy coming in. So we have to kind of hold some of it at bay. Yeah, we can't do all of it, and we can't do separate sessions for individuals, but we can look at the collective and you can experience it in your own brain. That's what I tend to do. I don't take a surrogate here. I take the collective and go, well, there's this big, huge, neuroplastic brain, and all of us, can mirror that energy, or we mirror into it. And part of it is negative. So experiencing pain, repeated patterns that we can experience. There was something else too, right? I was going into the limbic brain to the frontal cortex. Really important, really, really important, because the limbic brain, if during fetal life gets traumatized for whatever reason, it could be your mom ate something that wasn't good for her digestion, and it affected your limbic brain. Maybe your parents were arguing. Maybe they were in a war. Maybe maybe there was a move. Maybe there was a loss of money. There could be many, many things you could think on your family. And it wasn't the fourth month of fetal life, but when I was conceived, my great grandfather had passed. So, I often attribute my eczema to, having been conceived in a very sad period of time, a very grief-stricken period of time. So those things can happen to us. Okay, but we can correct them here. So just focus in on your emotional brain, that limbic brain, it's in here. And we're going to bring it up to the frontal cortex and think about it being plastic in the direction of learning to experience, if you're living in pain, learning to experience pleasure. If you tend to dramatize something, whatever it is, you tend to dramatize it, go into this big drama. That can be very much affiliated to excessive worry or fear. The limbic brain is now making the frontal cortex completely irrational. Breathe. Now we're going to put a positive one in there, that even if I'm going through something difficult that causes fear or worry, I can figure it out. I can figure it out. That's a lot of organization and planning. That's optimizing the liver, optimizing the gallbladder, optimizing the stomach. There we go, nice burp, so we can digest a problem and then organize and plan to deal with a problem. Oh, another piece came up from a session I did this morning, and there was a group of us who did some work on this. That's pushing, forcing, which goes straight to motivation, right? We think we have to motivate ourselves, which is pushing, it's forcing. We don't want to do that. We want to have enthusiasm. So, some people talk about motivation in a positive way because they're most likely talking about enthusiasm. Here we want to work with, because we don't say, I'm trying to build up the enthusiasm. We don't necessarily say that, generally we say, I need to get motivated, or, these things are damaging to the system because it's not, the enthusiasm isn't happening, so you aren't doing what you need to do. You don't have the heart center opened up. The brains are not working together. The dopamine's not working. Don't forget, you've got your digestive system. Here's the second piece that I really wanted to work with, and that is blood. Blood itself, that beautiful blood that runs through our bodies. Blood. Let's optimize the blood. Optimize it. That means, what blood does, if it wasn't for blood, it's over for us, right? Blood's going to carry the nutrients, carry oxygen to every single part of the body, right? We've got a blood-brain barrier that protects the brain from getting anything, that the brain shouldn't have in it. So let's do an ion ventricle discharge. So the ions through the blood-brain barrier help certain things get into the brain through the blood-brain barrier. But whatever gets in there that we don't want, let's move it into those ventricles. I like, when I do an ion ventricle discharge, is to vibrate the brain in that ventricle, because the ventricles, supposedly, if you move them a certain way, you're going to get the Sanskrit symbol Om. So let's chant Om. Om. You can really be focusing right now on the brain so that those bones are vibrating, and the bones are helping the ions go into those hollow chambers, those ventricles. Now I'm going to do that nitric oxide breathing. Inhale, hold for the count of 4. Inhale, hold for the count of 4. Inhale, hold for the count of 4. Okay, great. Now come back to stillness. And if you want to meditate for a moment on God, on spirit, on soul, on nature, whatever gets you there, connected really quickly to stillness. Now we're going to bring the 3 brains together: head, heart, and gut brain. But remember, we're one giant brain, the connectome, giant. And we want to shed the negative neuroplasticity. So that could be going for a particular worry, particular fear, guilt, shame, pain. Sensing. You could sense things and right away you think you're supposed to do something about it. Just report. I could sense things. I could sense my neighbors, but we tend to get involved. So a lot of people go, I hear what people think. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. It's terrible. It's fine that you do that. You hear what people think. Of course, if you actually do hear what people think, you probably are like me, where you want to go in a corner and hide and put, a pillow over you and a blanket and a metal cap, because it is intolerable to hear all the voices, to feel all of the different feelings, to hear all of the sounds, to smell all of the smells, and to taste all of the tastes. So when you're really sensing what's going on, if you're hearing what people think, likely it's driving you insane, which would be the first thing you would notice. But if you're noticing they're thinking bad things about me and it bothers me that they're thinking bad things, you're not just reporting, you're personalizing. That's a negative neuroplasticity. Negative neuroplasticity. I love this one. This is just great. And that's the gut brain unable to discern. That's their thoughts. Because you're probably thinking, what a jerk that they think of me like that. So, hello, wake up. If you hear what people are thinking, you could write it down if you want, report it to yourself, but stop getting involved. And how we're going to get involved is breaking this negative neuroplasticity that keeps going down that road. Yes, the collective can bother us, but we can allow the heart brain and the head brain to help us just experience compassion and go directly into stillness. I know it's a very complex session, but I love it. And I want to keep working on these things. Every time I've been working with this negative neuroplasticity, I've started with a bit of an asthma attack and then it goes away. I love it. I think it's so cool. So there's definitely something to do with what we're inhaling, how we're breathing, how we're digesting, how our heart's beating, how our blood is feeding us. Just think about all those things. So think about your blood this week. Think about how you could feed your blood. Did your blood get everything it needs? Has it got all the nutrients it needs? Am I digesting properly? What do I need? Do I need to add something to my diet? Do I need to go to my doctor and get a blood test and see what the heck is going on with me so I could take care of myself? All right, my loves, have a wonderful week and I will see you all next week. Enjoy that, tap it in. I would listen to this session daily to really get into the stillness. Bye.